microphone. Hang on, let's change
my... Well, it sounds like you're in a tin can, so that's fine.
Better now?
It's really try again then.
Is that any better?
Well, it's still you.
I just got audio. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, that's better. That's a better microphone.
There we are.
There goes your power. Sweet.
Yeah, I was ready for the lights to go out because, these late ones, sometimes 11 o'clock at night here, sometimes these late ones, our local engineer didn't go out and switch them off. So sometimes it runs on, but you just never know. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. That was a moth just went past the camera there. I've got a cold and Bruce is cold. So there we are. The Southern Hemisphere is cold in many, many, many ways. And I was rather, Mitch, Al, and Johnny, I was rather hoping that Ian was going to be here bang on time so we could just open up and chink glasses and
just bathing in the limelight of that BBC report.
Which BBC report? I didn't see the
one
BBC
that said
report.
that the FOIA requests were very poor, 18% completed in the prescribed time frame or something or other. And most of those are probably his. Speak of the
absolutely.
devil.
Oh, here he is. Yeah, let him arrive now. Now that we've abused him, he'll be here. Is he? Yeah, you didn't do that. Oh, well, I was just saying I wanted to open up with big congratulations and all that, but you weren't here.
So I got a roofing quote at the same time. So I'm trying to get a roof done, and I was like looking at that, and I realised I had time.
Same here. We get a new roof too.
Are you getting one as well?
Yeah, not cheap, eh?
No.
And tonight on Roofing Weekly, we'll discuss the cost of
We'll try and keep our minds out of the gutter.
Very good. Very, very, very good indeed. Look, I'm not in a position to be able to share anything, but so if Ian's got anything to share, you're going to have to do the honours, Bruce. But Ian, can you unpack? I mean, you did have a bit of a win. And what really does that mean, other than the police are going to tell you stuff? And the clock must be running on that.
Well, for just 2 seconds, Dinesh, I'll just put into the private chat so Bruce has access to put it in for the two cases.
You're going to have to do some work. Oh, no.
What's that, sorry?
Yeah.
Yes, at some point.
Well, you've been paid for by Jed's coffee shop, so I don't see why not. Jed's got the money.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Well, I'll begin talking to begin with anyway. So
yeah,
we don't need those up just yet. It was just so that they were to hand. But obviously, this has all happened as it's gone along on this show anyway. But obviously, we didn't have a clue what would happen in the end and so on. So, having had all those years of wonderful joy doing the freedom of informations about Gatwick, and especially against Sussex Police, and just hitting a brick wall where, I could have just said, was the sky blue on the 20th of December 2018, and it would have been, we can neither confirm nor deny the colour of the sky. That's what I would have been up against. Essentially, they were just blocking everything. We know good grounds. It was just, you're not asking us questions because you might make something of anything that we tell you. So I got fed up of it in the end because I went to the Information Commissioner each time, and they just seemed to roll over with it being a police force. They would make the argument that anything that was told to me would essentially stop Sussex Police being able to do their job of policing, would undermine the security at airports and so on. If we even so much as tell you how much we spent buying Aeroscope, terrorists will be able to just do a Die-Hard 2 and take over any airport. And the trouble is, when they put these arguments there, if you're kind of ignorant to things, you would think, because what they say is, with some of the exemptions with the freedom of information, and what are called qualified exemptions, which means that while they say, no, we're not giving you this, they've then got to do what's called a public interest test, which is really, they don't really do anything else other than back up their own argument. But they basically say the public interest so you basically got to say, this is the interest in maintaining the exemption that's there, and this is what the interest is in actually telling you the answer. So what they'll start off by saying is, if we tell you what the information that you've asked, then basically we'll never be able to arrest the person that did it, even though no one did it. Terrorists will be able to utilize this information. Criminals will be able to utilize this information. It will undermine our ability to police anymore. It's all nonsense. And then they'll say, on the other side of the argument is, it would show more transparency in policing and blah, blah, blah. And then they basically just say, well, those are the two options, pick. And they'll obviously pick always the scarier one. But then the ICO look at that. They think, oh, that looks very scary. We'll back with that one. And I'm like, well, but these are lies. These nonsense. These arguments are not true. The one that kind of frustrates me is stuff like Aeroscope, that acknowledging that Aeroscope was in use at Gatwick in 2018, undermines national security. It's there in the Daily Mail, caption Aeroscope. It's not a secret that police use it, because police forces put it themselves on Twitter. They're at trade shows showing it. The tenders are online saying they bought it. So you can say everything that I'm asking is already in the public domain. And in fact, there's more than I'm asking in the public domain. So so basically the ICO were always saying we're siding with the police. So I had 3 come back in the same month, and I basically said I'm drawing a line in the sand. If they do not side with me with at least one of them, then I'm going for it. I'm taking all 3 to tribunal, which obviously I'd never done before, and I've talked about the show, so I didn't know where to start with this. And because I was waiting for all 3, I led, because one of them came at the start of the month and one came at the end of the month. You're only given 30 days anyway, and they're not even. I'm not even sure it's even calendar days. It might even just be working days. But I know whichever way, you're given a very small window anyway. And by the end of it, I actually was only really had about 4 or 5 days. And then I'm not only just fighting one case, I'm fighting 3. So I've got to put together 3 entire arguments in support. And then, so I thought, wow, this is huge. So then I spent a hell of a lot of time just getting this all together to meet the deadline. There was quite a bit to and fro in there, because I obviously I've not been through this process before, or I've never been in court before, just seen quite the way it works. I kind of naively assumed that when you were having, and the trouble is as well with what's gone on, I have to be careful what I say here as well, because I still don't think I'm out of the potential for legal action for giving away certain bits and pieces. And that was one of the things that came along as this process went on, was I was basically in a position where I can't discuss documents that went backwards and forwards, or I'd be like in contempt of court. So what I have to discuss really, what you'll see in these documents, which has been made public, which thankfully is a fair bit of it, but you don't see in these the full arguments backwards and forwards, and the amount of evidence I had to put together to fight the case. So, but the good thing is, what we'll see, we'll talk for this in a minute, is the wording in there aren't actually my words. The way that the tribunal and the judge has understood my evidence, which I found was actually in itself was quite good, because at least I've got it across, and yes, that's it. You've twigged. So the worries I had were for a few reasons. Obviously, this is a very technical subject, and I don't know if these people know anything about it. There's a very good chance that they have no technology understanding at all, no understanding of drones, and so you're up against all this nonsense that the ICOs come up with, which I assume is being given to them by Sussex Police. So you've got this case of blah, 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 airport, so on, so on, so on, danger, danger, danger. And then I'm trying to put the factual case, but I'm thinking, well, because obviously in my head, it's all clear, but I've got to think, this person looking at it, it's not, they don't know what a counter-drone system is. So to explain, this is Aeroscope, it's DJIs, it does this. this is what's really at Gatwick, and have actual photos of what's there now and so on. So I had to go into that detail. But what had happened before we got to the stage of this ending up at the tribunal was the 3 cases were bundled together into one. Now, my worry there was, I don't mind that from like a cost saving. It's kind of common sense to have this done at once. But my worry was, if I lost one, did I lose them all? And this is what was never made clear to me. So we see here. So I was expecting it to be just you've won or you've lost. But the nice thing is, even though this was all heard together, it's been 3 decisions. So as a spoiler for those that don't know, that of the 3 that went in, 2 I have won, and that's what we'll talk about this evening at the start of this show, anyway, at least. So yeah, this happened on Friday, and I wasn't even expecting it because I wasn't even told what date it would be heard. So I think it was only last week or week before, Gary, after the show, we were talking about this, and I was saying, well, I've got no idea what comes next. And I even got to a point where I thought, well, I'm not really concerned either way whether I win or lose. I kind of almost forgotten about this and thought it doesn't matter anymore from the viewpoint that there's such a wealth of information now that's out there that anyone objectively looking at this, if you were a journalist, historian, just a member of public, stumbled across it and you looked at all the facts, you would see that what we've been told about Gatwick is false. That there's enough evidence from the authorities themselves that says from start to end, there's a good chance either there was no drone at all, or if there was a drone, it was there for 10, 20 minutes, boom, it had gone. And then it was just hysteria there afterwards. There isn't any evidence to substantiate anything more than that. I'm trying to think where I was going with that. I know I went slightly off on a tangent with it. But with the information already being there, I was thinking, well, I don't need to kind of prove any of this anymore. So from that viewpoint, I thought, well, don't matter. I wasn't expecting justice. My main frustration was, I wanted to say, I can't get anything from Sussex Police. They're just a brick wall to it. They think the Freedom of Information Act doesn't apply to them, and this was really to address that. And it was to try and make my life easy if I did win, at least, of trying to get the last bits of information. Just to neaten up a few remaining questions, and also if there's other freedom of information on other subjects I have to go through in future, that I at least know this process. So when it initially came back, it was Friday. I was at work anyway, so my mind was on work. I didn't even think about this, and it wasn't really until Saturday and Sunday that it sunk in. But then I was really quite pleased. I thought, actually, it's not bad. I'm just a bloke here that's gone up. I've represented myself. I was up against when I naively thought everything was really, kind of polite or factual. It wasn't. My words were tried to be twisted. The timeline itself was misrepresented and all kinds. So the only thing that I was very fortunate about, because I was worried, was when I put all this case across, there's then time to then try and pick everything apart that we're saying, which was, none of it was even bringing in facts or doing anything. It was all just trying to twist my words, misrepresent it, so on. But I did get the opportunity. So I went and I spent a hell of a lot of time. And I dismantled every argument that had been put against me and my evidence, and sent that back. And I was just worried, will they get time again to try and, but thankfully it stopped at that point. So it was, I put the evidence, they then tried to pick all the holes in it. And then I had the chance to go back and go, whoa, no, wait on. And I gave everything, the kitchen sink. So, Leonardo evidence is in there, the stuff that's gone on Twitter from a certain member of the DFT, you name it, it's in there. And there's videos in there, and there's photos in there, and there's annotated photos. So I explained how the counter-drone system works, how the thermal tracking works, that the fact that was at Gatwick, it was on, that didn't detect a drone, it wasn't on radar, blah, 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 blah. So it was everything, and I'm not even kept count, but according to these documents, the bundles that went with it, which is the evidence, was 117 pages. And it says that the judge and the tribunal has read the lot, so they've read it and they've digested it. So, yeah, when I saw this, and I thought, actually, they've got it. And the good thing for this as well, this is the Gatwick evidence being tested in a court, being tested by legal people that are very switched on. They're looking at the evidence, and they haven't gone, well, this is not, because you seem to think, wait a minute, the police must be being on the level here, and this guy coming along, who's he, what's he, and they've got it. They've gone, actually, no, we get it. There is a genuine, if you look at it logically, it doesn't stack up. And the good thing as well, it should be said, is that there were a number of people in the industry that gave statements to A, back up my knowledge on the subject, but B, to even express themselves their concerns about Gatwick and how, in fact, it could have made airports less secure because it brought in all this snake oil counter UAS where lots of airports have bought it without it being properly tested. So we actually might be less protected than we would have been had there been a proper open acknowledgement of what went on there. So, yeah, it's on LinkedIn and people are credited, but there's quite a lot of people in the industry. So there was like Brendan, Philip Rouse. Simon Dale needs a mention because he's the only body of drone users in the UK that put that there. I have to be fair that there's that Grey Arrows club, I think they're called. I didn't ask them. I didn't know enough about them then. So I can't say that they didn't because they weren't asked. But BMFA didn't reply to BMFA.
It asked the BMFA, and they
I went to their main website and used their contact form and didn't even get anything back. So I was a bit disappointed. Not to even just say back and say we don't really want someone we're not even interested in being in. I just didn't get anything. So
did you go to AR?
I didn't because they knew I was doing it, so they could have come out and chat to me. But I've tried to even get a blog on did it say it as ARPAS or did it say RPAS?
I don't know.
No, I always say RPAS. But anyway, I went to their I've tried to talk to them in the past, even just get a blog on there about what was. I wanted to mention like the Gatwick thing on Airprox reality check, and they don't even want to mention it. So I thought, well, there's kind of no point because they don't want to touch Gatwick because they're more interested in just having the tea and biscuits at the DFT, and they don't want to sour any relationship by dealing with any facts. Unfortunately,
I'll say to you, when you sent me the documents, when you said I've won, and it was amazing, just seeing Ian Hudson versus and that crown or whatever that logo is, their official document, that gave me the chills. I can't say how impressed I am with the effort you've undertaken. It would just frighten me to go to this level of talking to grown-ups. So that in itself was a monumental task. And to spend so long creating and then laying out the evidence for them. And the statement that you've got, I don't know, we can't get to it, but I put it on the thumbnail for this. But the statement that there was a detriment to the UK drone industry, that's just like, I want to say it's not comedy gold, but it's gold.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to scroll down through this, and we'll see what's said there, because it puts my case, how the commissioner tried to undermine it, and then the decision of the tribunal. But yeah, that was one. As soon as I saw it, it was the one thing because it was one of the arguments I tried to make. Because the problem was, I'm trying to say because all I can argue is the public interest, and there isn't. This is how to argue the public interest. It's something that's kind of. I even watched the ICO's own guidance to their own staff about this, and it was very, very woolly and thin. So the only thing I could grasp onto is that you strengthen the case for the public interest if there is wrongdoing. And I was kind of driven to defend the drone industry and explain the impact as much as anything, because the commissioner had said it was a small community. So basically it was trying to belittle the industry. so that it could say, look, they don't count for the public interest. They're so niche that it's more important that the Gatwick situation is kept vague than it is to actually disclose what went on. So I kind of went to town on that again with evidence. So I used the PwC figures to say, and then I'm sure I even quantified that, because the way the drone industry was predicted to grow would mean it would generate more for the UK economy than telecoms does now, and that is a very significant statement. So I actually put the figures in and then quantified it in that way to understand it in a understand it in a sentence. And I think with the PwC thing, it even says number of jobs. So it's like, this is where we are now. So I gave the figures for what the size of the drone community is now of commercial and the hobbyists, and said this is where it's to go. And the good thing is here as well, the tribunal has acknowledged that the drone industry is important, not just because the commercial side, which a number of people go for as well. It's the commercial plus the hobby. So the actual, the hobby side gets a specific mention as well. You are important.
Yes. So that was really, to me, that was just, I was.
So it's here, it's going to be you, sorry, on here in front of us. If you want to highlight you there, Bruce.
Which bit? You, this one.
Yeah, that's
reputational damage. Yeah. I'll try. Can I expand it? Will I make it bigger? Let's have a look. No,
so that's what I think that says the commissioner, isn't it?
The reputation. I can just about read that. The reputational damage.
So,
yeah.
It's the reputation. So there is the commissioner. So this is what they were saying to sort of undermine my argument. Was the reputational damage to a relatively small community does not outweigh the extremely weighty public interest in maintaining the safety of the airport for members of the UK public and international visitors. The public interest will be significantly undermined by the disclosure of the requested information. So they're saying that the Gatwick Airport is more important than the entire drone community put together, in essence. And they've presented that picture of somehow the security there will be undermined by disclosing the information, which we know is not the case.
And then is it about 42 or something like that where they said it?
If we scroll down further, it gives their decision. They'll be around here, won't it? Because this is the tribunal, isn't it?
Down there somewhere.
The tribunal found an error in the commissioner's reasoning with the DN, and there was a flaw in the exercise of his discretion of the public interest test.
That's the final bit at the end from all the information above it, saying that the commissioner was in the wrong. They hadn't weighed the public interest up. So my entire argument for start term was to focus on the public interest alone, because that was the only way I could unlock this exemption. But yeah, if we scroll up a little, we might be able to see where they mentioned drone industry specifically.
Oh.
And Cliff, I saw that documentary as well. I just hung my head in shame, and I just thought, what are these nerds out there? But
keep going up, Bruce.
Okay.
I can see it.
I can't read the screen because it's on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Keep going.
That's
I
what
should
my
have known
missus
it
says.
beforehand, so isn't it? So
it's on the thumbnail for this, but
Shall I search for something?
Give me a second. I'll find it here,
and
I'll tell you, because there's two documents, isn't there? So
yeah.
Let's have a look.
So I guess that means no biscuits with the tea this week at the commissioner's office.
Absolutely. I mean, all of us, all around the world, have been beaten with this Gatwick stick, and that's the significance of this unraveling of this, and Ian's constant work on this and pushing. And as I've said, I'm convinced Ian has a better timeline for events than any single other organisation now, and he can back up his timeline based on all the bits of information he's pulled in, and that's gonna get to the truth. We'll get there one day. Hopefully, we'll all be alive for it, but we'll get there one day.
It's point 41 in the document, and it's It's number 41, and it's
41. Here we go.
The document
This
0272.
Yeah, there we go.
Just said it was near 42.
Oh yeah, so you're very close. So we see here that the tribunal found there has been damage to the drone community, which is not a small community, taking into account the number of professional and amateur drone users. So it's in both communities, the contribution of drones to the economy and number of jobs involved in the industry. So
well, really, it's a poke in the eye to him, isn't it?
So
it's
take that.
No, yeah, take that. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant line and can be used in many places afterwards. And it's so disappointing that BMFA didn't join in with this. It's so disappointing that RPAS don't seem to be interested, and because we all know the truth. Cliff wants to know, then mainstream media will run a story exposing the truth. Well, I mean, I don't know what there's potential for that, but this is almost like the post office scandal, but of course it's not as devastating. Yeah. But but for all the people on the following days that had their flights disrupted, perhaps you could argue for the first incident when we'll never know if there really was or wasn't, then maybe okay. But the days afterwards, that's pure chicken licking stuff. And or henny penny or whatever it is. And some people are entitled to compensation, and Gatwick are desperate for that not to happen.
I shall send a copy to our Ministry of Transport and CAA for their perusal, since they included this in their consultation document that Gatwick was the reason we need remote ID.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's the tool that's been used, and maybe we can start arguing. Well, prove it then. I don't know.
If you pop to the other document, Bruce, for the ground of appeals, grounds of appeal that starts.
Is that the second one?
Yeah.
And Mitchell, I think they did disclose they used Aeroscope, didn't they, Ian?
They've never done officially that I know of, other than it has been in the news things, but on freedom of information, even if something's in the news, they still try and argue it. So if we keep going down, so
officially not then. So
Aeroscope or something. What are you looking for?
Grounds of appeal here, and go to the ends of this, because this is how they've interpreted what I was saying, and I kind of like this as well, because now this is all public record now, so it's there to be seen by journalists, it's there to be seen by historians, and the judge and tribunal. This is their understanding from the argument and from the evidence, and obviously found in my favour. So it acknowledges that all of this is credible. So can we zoom in a little bit?
Yep. Which bit do you want?
To just try to get E onwards if we can.
Okay.
So we don't really need E, actually, it's just after it. So, I mentioned here as well that Leicestershire Police have proven by East Midlands Airport. They were quite honest, and congratulations to them. It's to their credit. But they dealt with the fact of the drone incursion there and the fact that some of the sightings were mistakes. The commissioner didn't want any of that. They wanted that to be completely ignored by the tribunal, but so how much influence that's had, I don't know, but I thought it was important to put it in there. So as we can see, I said the reputation of UK aviation has been damaged by the Sussex Police narrative, and those who were affected and the airlines that lost their money deserve transparency. So I've made sure it was mentioned that the passengers there and the airlines, they're victims in this as well. So the public interest as well, it isn't just the drone community. These are, the whole of aviation has been impacted by this. And I mentioned I put in the public interest, which they might not be able to consider, but I've said it's the global drone community has been damaged. So I'm saying it's especially the UK, but the damage has gone beyond that. And I've said here, and I say these aren't even my words, this is how they've understood from my evidence, but it's there is a global reputational damage of the Gatwick incident is seen as a failed police operation where Sussex Police are burying mistakes. There is a public interest from thousands of passengers, as mentioned. The official account.
Can I just stop you? So this is their summing up of what they believe. Just help me understand this. This is their saying. This is how it is.
Well, they're saying this is how they've understood my argument and understood my evidence to be saying. So this is not their conclusion at the point, but this is saying of how they've understood me. So this at least says they've read the evidence and they understand where I'm coming from. So they've kind of, mine was obviously a lot more lengthy, and they've kind of condensed it down into the points. So yeah, because I don't think I ever said it was actually, I don't think I used the words untrue. I was pretty careful about the way. What I didn't want was this for me to be saying there wasn't a drone, and then the Information Commission then to just be going, oh, trying to pick away at that. So what I wanted to say was this contradiction. So I said, I'm not going to have this tribunal about whether there was or there wasn't a drone. It's about the fact that there's contradiction there, there's wrongdoing. The fact that there may or there may not have been a drone. There's certainly, I said there wasn't a drone for this entire period for certain, because you've got the Leonardo evidence. It came very, very late, so I don't know if they considered it or not, but I tried to get it in, was the National Police Air Service evidence from the Yorkshire Police. Put it all together, and you can say there was not a drone flying about, because you've got Sussex Police in the minority, because you've got Sussex Police saying there was, looking from the ground up, and then you've got National Police Air Service in the sky with the helicopter with the proper kit to see a drone saying there isn't one. You've got the RAF saying there isn't one. You've got the UK Air Prox Board saying no one, civilian or police, has logged an Air Prox. So you've got three credible organisations against Sussex Police when you look at the evidence. And then you've got the media who were there, and they were there from start to finish, and they didn't see the drone either, and they're using some very good gear. So I mentioned all the gear that the media had, the abilities it would have had to have seen something at night, and how quickly they were on site. So all of that is in there. So it was put for them to then consider, but I didn't say, I was, because even the commissioner tried to say I didn't acknowledge there was a drone. I said no, and I was saying no, I was just getting up because I was got the Secretary of State. There's a bit that the DFT accidentally put out into the public domain in the spreadsheet, where there's discussions about they found the drone, and then there was even trying to talk of, maybe we can pass this off as though we've shot this down, even though we haven't. All this malarkey is going on. This is a little bit naughty. So I've put all of that in there of saying, look, we can see the contradictions. There isn't, I should be allowed to question these bits, which is essentially what it's about. Us as the public should be able to ask the questions, just to put this all into context and see why there is any contradictions there. And if Sussex Police are just saying no, we're not going to answer anything, it makes it a whole lot harder. I mean, the good thing is with all the partner agencies, they've done their best to stop any of this coming out, and they haven't been able to, because it was a shared operation between all these partner agencies and the rest of them. And quite, no one should be breaking the law over this, which is what you would be doing if you started blocking the Freedom of Information Act on all of this. They've generally been doing the right thing. The Ministry of Defence has been pretty weak on it. The DFT's been pretty stubborn. But the good thing is out of this as well is things had another twist yesterday, which was one of the arguments I made in this. I thought, well, we're at tribunal now, and the way the Information Commission has been, because I've been trying to keep Information Commissioner as a friend and didn't want to be in this position, but they've put themselves where they're saying we're with Sussex Police and we're against you. And if you'd ever seen the things I had to deal with, it was a proper attack at me. Well, I thought, well, gloves are off. So I made the issue that the Information Commission was not holding Sussex Police to account. And they even used one of their own documents against them, where the Information Commissioner had a document saying how crap Sussex Police were. So that was in there as well. And what happened yesterday after this was revealed on Friday is the Information Commissioner is taking enforcement action against Sussex Police for being crap at freedom of information, which is what I've been saying all along.
Fair play, mate. You've plainly played it beautifully. So what was the one you lost? You won 2, lost 1. What was the one you lost about?
Right. So yeah, we haven't really mentioned with these, but these are little bits of information. So one of these I was asking for just how much they spent buying or renting Aeroscope. A very, very innocent question, but part of that question was just to test Sussex Police about how helpful they're being, or if they're just blocking every question. It's such a trivial question. It should have never ever been blocked, but there we go. Boom. They didn't want to answer it. And then the next one, I was asking about the timeline. The timeline's pretty vague. Now, Sussex Police were not there even. The pressure was put on. The pressure came from a Conservative MP. It was from Press Association. And it was saying, we want the timeline of events, which was called the Operation Trebor Debrief. And Sussex Police put it out. And then the ICO with this was saying, oh, well, they put this information into the public domain. I go, no, wait a minute. We've had it on this show. That document is basically completely redacted page, completely redacted. All it tells us is that Sussex Police weren't happy about the catering facilities at the airport for the event.
That's right. It was the sandwiches, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was the sandwiches.
And so because I'm saying you can't say Sussex Police are answering all these questions, because they're not. They might be answering a number of freedom of information requests, but they aren't putting the information in there. They're redacting it, and that was another thing that the tribunal understood and accepted. That, and the argument I'm making was valid in that they're not giving information. But so as part of that timeline, they just talk about the drone had stopped bothering the airport in the morning. Morning's a very wishy-washy word. It can be interpreted as a whole range.
It's 001 to 11:59, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a 12-hour. It's 2 minutes short of 12 hours, isn't it? So what is that then? What does that mean?
I just asked for, is it this period of time? I didn't even say give me the time. I just said, is it between 8 and whatever one? A very again a question that shouldn't have been any issue for anybody to answer if they're acting in good faith and they won't answer it. So they've got to answer those two. The other one I'd asked about, to be fair, I'm a bit nuts why this hasn't been answered, and I haven't gone back through it all because it just got me into a downer reading the failure in it. So I just thought I'm gonna look at the successes. 2 out of 3 is good. I'm gonna leave it at that. But the third one, what I wanted to know was, and I'm sure he wasn't, which is why it'd be nice to have, was Giles York himself at Gatwick Airport.
Yeah.
So he has given evidence to Parliament where he's making it out, because he's doing this little thing. Oh, it was small, it was fast. And so he's making it out as though he's seen it. He's not saying it, but as far as the audience he's speaking to, then they could very well misunderstand.
You might have to be a bit careful, Ian. A bit carefully, I think. Some word.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is the impression you would get from what he was saying was that he was there. So he doesn't say he was there, but he doesn't say he wasn't there. But he gives us an account where if you were listening to it, you'd think, oh, this is a chap talking about, because he even says if you come to the airport and you see it, you will understand. But so all I want to do,
there's no evidence to back up what he said to Parliament, is there? There's none at all, because if it was that straightforward, then all those press photographers that were at the airport at that time would have got those small, fast, slow, big, small, tall, fat, thin.
Yeah, and no one's even recorded a statement that says it's, according to the authorities, they're saying we've got no evidence that it was fast or slow or big or small. So even the words he's using when you say, well, let's have evidence of any of that, and we haven't got any. So all I was asking was did he actually go to Gatwick Airport on those first few days when it was flying about? And it doesn't even work for Sussex Police anymore. There's nothing I can see of any harm to say, did he go to Gatwick Airport? But they're saying,
did he have a drone? Did he have a drone?
Oh yeah.
And Cliff's mentioned what scares me about this is what other information day-to-day being fed. It's just total lies.
Yeah.
And then for that it's bob on. That's exactly it. And it is frightening. And Ian's pushed and pushed and pushed and got to where he is, and because of his dogged determination and not give up attitude. Because of course, in reality, to the wider world, this story's gone. It's moved on. It's a thing. I sort of remember that Gatwick thing. Yeah, exactly. It's moved on.
We're down to the facts now. They never impress anybody.
You're right. You're so right, Bruce. You're so right. Yeah, and that is what, and the timeline, and that is what's going to catch people now. It's going to be the truth, the facts. When things are lined up, there's stories that have been told that they're going to have to justify.
And the official response will be: mistakes have been made, lessons have learned, we move on. That's it. Tea and biscuits for everybody.
Yeah.
One of the benefits out of this is now these cases, and they're there on the archives and people can read them, is someone trying to fight the public interest can cite my cases where I've won and say, Ian Hudson versus Information Commissioner, blah day, and these were the same issues, and you found in his favour. So the trouble is, obviously, it's very specific to this event, so it'll only give you so much flex. But at least you know the kind of issues to say, well, hang on, if this does go to tribunal, there's a fair chance you might lose, in which case, there might be a thing, maybe we'll think about that. But the good thing with this now is I'm a lot more confident about the whole process. I understand it now. So there's a few that I'm getting knocked back on that I'm going, whoa, stop that now, because we're going to go all the way with this. So you can try it all you like. Because I've gone to Ministry of Justice straight. This was from having the debate with Kevin. I went to a really simple one, right? This, which is more for contraband into prisons, the mailroom or drones? And they've come straight back. We're not telling you. If we tell you, we're undermining prison security. And this white paper documents detailing prison security, how many staff they're employing, how many sensors they're buying, how many they're going to put into prisons and that, and what sensors they're buying, and what equipment they're getting for counter drone. I'm saying you're putting all this in public domain, which somebody really could read if they wanted to know this. And I'm asking you, which is biggest? Come off it. So, I think this year is going to be, I'm going to make more sort of nuisance of myself this year and actually push these things through. Like, as much as anything, because in fact, what happened on Monday, as well as actually reprimanding Sussex Police, the Information Commission has done an open letter to the authorities saying this can't go on. You need to be being transparent. You shouldn't be having people forced to ask you to publish information. You should be doing that proactively anyway and stopping people, because saying it's going to cost you money in the long run because you're blocking questions. They can then be appealed. You're going to have your legal costs dealing with that process. And then at the end of it, you may well be told to give that information anyway. You're better off at the start just to provide the information, unless you genuinely have a case where it's unreasonable not to.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Very poor performance.
Well, you're going to have to do a bit of a Richard Ryan. You're going to have to go off to law school and become a barrister now. You're going to have to spend
all his time at the bar.
Yeah, there you go.
I told Richard right about it, and I just got a thumbs up. I thought he could have at least given me like some sort of honourable barrister badge or something. I was a bit disappointed with that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some sort of barrister, but some sort of chocolate bar or something.
Yeah, junior barrister, something like that. I'm
sure they've given you a secret honour that they won't tell you about in the commissioner's office.
I'm sure some sort of special affirmation. I'm sure
you'll have that little red flag on your file now.
On every single file, but it speaks. I mean, it speaks to so many things. We would start to unpack this all properly. It speaks to organisations that are supposed to represent commercial and private flyers in the UK keeping firmly out of things because they have agendas that they want to push. I suppose that's obvious that they do. But ARP certainly has been pushing counter UAS and pushing we're the people that have got all the knowledge and information, and
they're a counter UAS company now, aren't they?
Well, yes, and they probably always were. And enough of them in it, because really they represent a tiny proportion of the commercial flyers in the UK. But I suppose that then just turns around. How do you set up an organisation to represent a group of people that doesn't end up with people clawing to get to the top, so they get to the contracts first? How does that happen in any industry? Any industry, the Bag Weavers Association or whatever.
And as far as the hobby's concerned, people don't care until it's too late.
So it's too late, and it's the 6th in New Zealand for you now. It's nearly the 6th for me. So it's only 10 days to go until
remote ID. That's it. And do you see the FAA put a tweet out saying that if you are going to be using, I'll see if I can find it, because I asked them a question because I couldn't quite make sense of it. Actually, their little tweet on remote ID. Hang on, I can't find it now. It'll turn up one day. God, I hate Twitter, formerly known as X.
Yeah, I must admit, I've stopped replying to the FAA stuff for now. I've kind of made my point with it, but he does make me facepalm a bit that there's still. Although it is worth noting for the UK, for a bit of a parallel, the Information Commissioner has reprimanded the Home Office for GPS tracking of refugees coming into the country. And then they've said taking location data is invasive. So there's a nice little. I'm thinking if RID starts getting pushed more in the UK, there's a good case for the community here going to the Information Commissioner and making a lot of noise. And they may well find that actually the Information Commissioner finds against them and says, "Wait a minute, what are you doing here? You're taking it a step too far."
But I think the UK's already had the precedent set with ANPR everywhere. They know exactly where you've driven all the time. The ANPR cameras are accumulating all that data. Your privacy is
it's a little bit different here because you are transmitting it and it is real time. And we'll have to see what the final.
But it's also who's at the other end of that data, isn't it? Here in South Africa, we have an enormous private ANPR system that our police buys the data from, but that private system is also, of course, selling the data to every. So our police force have not set that up, and it drives me nuts because people go, "Oh, it's for our safety and security." It's like, no, it's not. It's not what it's being used for. And anyway, but that
FAA post was. Do I have to put standard remote ID equipment in my home-built drone? And they say no, if it's flown solely for your own recreational or educational purposes. So if it's a commercial drone that is home-built, it has to have standard remote ID. So I don't understand how any of these people that are doing YouTube videos with home-built drones under Part 107 are able to legally fly because they don't have standard remote ID. And I asked the FAA, I said, so if you're flying a home-built drone under Part 107, then standard remote ID is a legal requirement. No modules allowed, ? And you don't get a response. What is the point of using a medium like Twitter if you're going to just use it as right only, ignore any questions? I mean, they're not trying to educate.
Yeah, well, there will be a data breach. Something will happen, and sadly, I think an operator in America is probably going to get shot or whatever by it.
Well, probably fully drone life.
Well,
they just added on fully drone life list.
Did you see his thing with Bot Grinder? His video with Bot Grinder?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to make of that really.
Well, they have chosen to make an example of them, and the fines are out of all proportion to the risk and the actual consequences of his actions, and that makes a bit of a mockery of it. Because if you're going to do that, how much are you going to fine someone if they actually hurt somebody or actually damage some property? You fine him $182,000 for simply flying over a city, not hurting anybody. If somebody actually kills someone or maims someone, how much are you going to fine them? It has to be 10 times that, doesn't it? Or there has to be some kind of proportional punishment.
Yeah, look at there's been a couple of incidents and accidents with crewed aircraft into into buildings and roads and things in the last couple of weeks. So where do we stand with that? And a terrible one with two pilots on board continuing into weather. Completely. I mean, they paid the ultimate price. They're no longer with us, but that should be stopped with training and education. You know, that can be stopped further back. It didn't have to get through that many bits of cheese. It should have been stopped.
And I want to know who at Boeing, which individual at Boeing got fined? Nobody. So they've endangered lives. They've actually taken lives through. And these are not systematic problems. They are decisions made by individuals. So individuals should be held accountable. They're reaping the big salaries and things at the boardroom level. They make the decisions. They should be held personally accountable as directors or whoever's involved in making those decisions. But they're not. It's just this anonymous fine handed out to an organization that's got more money than God, so they just pay it and put the prices up. So no one's actually punished when people die. But when somebody flies a 250-gram drone over a city, they've got to be fined nearly $200,000, and this makes it very difficult I believe for people to have respect for an organisation that treats the fines not as a proportional method to punish transgressions, but as a big stick to try and make examples of people because they don't have the resources to do their job properly.
Yeah, I lost the shizzle with the FAA. There really is how they seem to have shaped this. And it's funny that it seems to be just happening just 10 days ahead of when RID's coming out, and it's making news headlines. And what, about a month ago, I suppose it started. It's strange, that, isn't it, how they've got the big stick out just ahead of this. It's funny.
And the thing that annoys me too is they are now punishing him for things that are becoming legal. BV loss. They're handing out these waivers left, right, and centre for big, huge drones to fly BV loss over built-up areas and things. Yet he flies a tiny little drone BV loss, and suddenly it's a huge thing. Hey, remember that you see that picture on X of that crashed drone? That was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about that, Karen?
I don't know a lot about it. Otherwise, it just made me laugh. You know, I've even forgotten who it was. But to be fair to that company,
can we show that and just put a few points about it?
I've got it here. Where are we?
Because at least they were honest about it. This crash is the second one I've seen this week where I've seen developers saying, look, I've crashed. And I will say, I like that. If a company says, look, we crashed a thing, it gives me a bit more confidence in them. Any company that goes, we have perfectly created this thing, and look, it's amazing and it works every time. It's like, no, it didn't. If it did, you're lying. There's some jiggery pokery there.
Well, it's worse when you do get an incident and then you do your press release as though it's all been hunky dory.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this interested me for a few things. So we've got this drone crashed here and it's deployed the parachute. Now we're told that the height it was at wasn't high enough for the parachute to be useful. Well, that does bring the question of, well, this is going to be the same with eVTOLs. It's no good them being, it's no good if it's like, say, 50 meters up and you shoot and it does nothing. But when it crashes down, you're crushed. Yeah. And we see here that's flipped upside down as well. So if you're one of these little carbon fiber bodies, upside down, your head's just going smack into the concrete. So it wasn't so much this drone itself and this. It was the fact of the things it's showing once you're dealing with a bigger frame and you're dealing with parachutes, the consequences. The parachutes. A lot of the companies I talk about at the minute, and this is why they're not talking about it.
But they're pretty bad option. I've forgotten the European number for how because it's not just the vertical speed. You've also got the horizontal speed from the wind. So So once you add that in, you really start cutting down the available or maximum wind speed in which you can fly.
It's a bit like that lunar lander, that Odysseus thing. You know, it was, the wind blew it sideways and it tipped over.
Yeah, or they shut the hangar door. I said they're shutting the door to start the light for the filming. It's too windy outside. So yeah,
but yeah, you're right. I mean, the thing is also where the propeller's still spinning, is even it comes down slowly, and the props are still spinning even slowly if they flesh-eating carbon props, and it's descending on a playground. I mean, there's not total mitigation with a parachute. It's you can do that legally with as long as you sign papers and just make people think you're clever, but you can't fly a 250-gram drone over a building because reasons.
Exactly, and it does seem very, very. I can't say I can completely condone the manner in which he flies sometimes, but
same here. It's beyond my risk comfort level. But looking at it objectively, the worst possible outcome is somebody gets a bruise on the head. Yeah,
and he's going to lose the thing because he's flying in
that would be a good outcome sometimes. I think
in RF-rich environment.
I got returned to home, man. And we all know that GPS works so well in an urban canyon.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm sure several of those flights he wouldn't have had a really good fix and be popping up. I mean, he only got his fix, 200 yards down the road or whatever.
The other thing too is with all this AAM and drone delivery stuff, we're getting quite a few solar flares at the moment. We're coming up to the peak of the sunspot cycle, and there have been GPS outages caused by coronal mass ejections and things. And I just shudder for the day when the sky may be filled with drones and pilotless air taxis, and that happens. There's no fallback. I mean, we'll use optical navigation, but that's going to put the price of your delivery drone up so much that it's still going to be even less economic to actually run it as a service. So they'll do shortcuts.
I find it pretty amazing.
You've posted something, and it's something we've discussed before, but saying that batteries for delivery air taxis, we could realistically be looking at just 85 cycles.
Yeah, it's crazy. Advertise your $200,000 battery pack across 85 flights. How many people do you have to cram in, and how much do you charge them to make it profitable?
Yeah, I mean, when they're arguing, we'll get 500, which is the maximum, which isn't really possible.
No,
because I was thinking, even if it was a couple of hundred, that'd be bad enough. But when you're talking 85, that really is changing the whole economics of it. Yeah,
we're a generational two away in terms of battery technology.
It'll be fixed wing. It's very traditional electric airframes.
Airport to airport.
Airport to airport. It'll be very, and they'll get there first. They'll get their battery data from those, and it will not look Jetson at all. It will look like it. It beats me why people reinvent the wheel.
Sizzle. It's easier to sell the sizzle than the steak. That's it.
It is.
Talking of reinventing the wheel, I'm perplexed at why Australia's writing its own UTM. Everyone else is.
No, it's because they're preparing for all the urban air mobility. They're getting ready.
Imagine if you're a government saying, we need a word processor, we need a spreadsheet, let's write our own. Let's not buy that Microsoft one that's already written. Everyone is out there. So there's loads of UTMs now that are written, that are there, that you can buy. But no, let's make our own. Everyone's, nah.
Yeah, but Frequentis have written another one.
UTM's rubbish over there. Buy ours, it's better. Everyone is saying that.
The story said that Frequentis was the only company to have delivered UTMs. I'm thinking, is that really true?
I believe there was a company, some bloke, some dick that runs it.
The ginger-headed guy.
Yeah, I believe he actually ran it for Frequentis. And so that Frequentis thing it smells a little bit. I should have asked him on to talk about that.
Yeah, and we run the risk that it's going to be 2024 technology, and when the craft arrive in 2030, it's already old, out of date, and inefficient. I mean, don't put
2030, 2040, mate.
yeah, whatever. I mean, it's going to be like ADSB. When you really need it, it's already too old to use reasonably. You know, you don't want to preempt these things. Every year you wait, it makes it cheaper because the technology price comes down. And with AI, we just say to ChatGPT, write us a UTM, and then out it spits it, and away you go.
Oh, I wish the power was on. I'll be doing that right now. I wish the power was on. Dear Gemini.
The thing that was making me face palm even more was the images with EHang crowd flying about everywhere. It's,
oh yeah,
please, you're doing it again. Every regulator going, we need the UTM, and oh, we don't build our own craft for the UTM. Oh, let's put a stock image of one of the other craft that's out there that we haven't even done any Googling about first.
yeah.
We're gonna have to start it. We're gonna have to start a AAM company between us. You know, we can do the renders, we can do the sales pitch. I know a guy that runs a news service. He can put the press releases out. It'd be right. Be great. Throw in some military drones as well, and we've got a fortune.
Yeah, that's right. It's a shotgun right across the industry. What's the topic? Well, Matthew, we started earlier talking about Ian's fantastic win, which should have a bearings everywhere on bearings. He is the squeaky wheel for getting to the bottom of the Gatwick investigation, and he's won some 2 court cases in that regard. But the ban China drones is much like remote ID. Remote ID is going to come into people's psyche on March the 17th in America. More people will suddenly realize what remote ID is because they've not been listening. I'm still bewildered as to people saying, well, what's this remote ID thing? And the China ban drone thing has been a long time coming. It's just been helped along by Skydio and the AUV aside.
Alan, you did a nice little summary today with snippets from the politicians talking, showing just how they're swallowing this whole hook, line, and sinker. And it's they've encrypted Aeroscope because that means they can then send secret data that we won't know about. Ooh, the Aeroscope data has been encrypted, so that's the conspiracy amongst the politicians. And their argument is that this means we can't track what they're sending back to China. Oh no.
Well, it's not how it was happening anyway.
They can measure your heartbeat from a drone. You know, the Mini 2, it's got the heartbeat function. Tells you.
Does it?
No, but that's what they're telling them.
No, I was going to say, why?
Remember, lies is the lingua franca of politics. So they're happy to tell each other lies as much as the public.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that the American industry's got, and the whole world, Karen Harris, like remote is just fall by the wayside. Well, that's the sort of CB radio argument that eventually so many people are doing it that
it's different to CB radio because there's so much money to be made from this, whereas CB radio, no one's making any money out of that. So the money will drive it. I don't think it'll disappear. And it's always so much easier to prevent something than have it repealed. Politicians hate repealing laws because it lessens their control over the masses.
Yeah, and the drone delivery thing isn't going to happen en masse. That is for certain. I don't know. Remember, this wasn't called for by the FAA or the CAA or the Australian or the New Zealand ones. It was
Commercial Drone Alliance.
It was Commercial Drone Alliance. Patents pending. It was called for by the various security services around the world who didn't understand the problem. Oh, hello, has someone done it? Someone put it into ChatGPT. Mick, get into ChatGPT. Come on, get it written. Get it written, Mick. Good, lovely to see you here. It's too cheap for government entities to buy a bunch of registers. It is. It's exactly, Mitchell. They've already got them. Every flipping laptop, every phone that they've got,
and they've contracted ENRA in the States. So
yeah, and that's another thing that annoys me. People say, "Well, now who's going to be looking?" And no one's going to bother to do that. It's like they're already already put the contract out. It was about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's already,
And anyone
already
who's
done.
savvy will be collecting that data and selling it to your competitor.
Well, we've been busy. That's the business. The first one we got to set up before we set up the AM, UAM. We've got to set that one up first. And what we could tell people, I don't know, tell our dear viewers here that we're going to supply them with an app that whilst it's doing it could be mining Bitcoin for them.
Yes, and doing
or
3D
something
renders
like
for
that.
our
3D
AAM
renders,
company.
and then that's right. use the power of all the distributed devices. But that's what people are doing with ADSB data. They're offering, and more weirdly for NTRIP data for RTK GPS. They're paying you in Bitcoin to set up a receiving station for it.
Well, the real money in accumulating all this drone data is not in selling it. It is in selling the right not to be included.
Yeah. Even the FAA have an official way of doing that for, but that, and even that's nuts. Even that, I'm on ranty high horse, aren't I? That's a little bit ridiculous because all they do is give you a not published 16-bit number.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't take as long when we sat. All the world's
Sit in an
aircraft
airport.
spotters are sat at airports, especially in the UK with their notebooks. They'll look at the registration. They'll see that that's a different code. It's not going to be that hard. And so I would suggest probably there's already a list of a lot of those numbers out there on the plane spotters networks. I'm sure there are. I'm sure a lot of the privately owned ADSB stuff has started. Go on, mate. Sorry.
Imagine if you hook all these remote ID receivers up to a mesh-tastic network, Laura.
Yeah.
You can build your own completely, standalone.
It's one of the new laws to mention mesh-tastic now, isn't it?
It's 3D rendering, cryptocurrency. Yeah, mesh-tastic.
Mesh-tastic, yeah. And I love mesh-tastic. I've been using it for years. And now it's got popular. I don't like it so much anymore.
Now it's been branded. It's not just Laura anymore.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great system. It works really well. And just nerdy, trying to get the long-range stuff out of it. It's very nerdy. I like it for that entity.
It's the new CB radio, Gary.
So they say on all the things.
Do you watch Andy Kirby?
Yeah. I watch his stuff. And of course, it was started by an RG Pilot dev. So anyway, back in the day.
It's a small world, eh?
It's a very small world when you come to the nerd world. It really is, isn't it? It's very small indeed. So we've talked about remote ID. I'm not sure if I've danced around the China drones thing. The bottom line is, to me, AVSI had DJI on the board. DJI were extremely clever in seeding fire and first aid companies and then being able to go with the drones for good things. It's very, very clever. They're monstrously clever in naming it Dow Jones Index. They've just been monstrously clever throughout the whole thing. And
you see now they've twigged to the Chinese EV threat. They've got cameras. They've full time connected to always online. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's a massive trade war brewing, disguised as a security war.
Yeah.
Detroit will be saying must ban them on security grounds.
I don't believe there are no car companies left in Detroit, are there? I don't know. And the American view will be able to put me right there. And it's amazing that DJI got to sit at the was it the NPCC meeting?
Yeah.
The
as
county
Ian's documentation proved.
Yeah, it's amazing that they got a seat of that. Really, if there's any doubt, then we should leave them out. I'd be very interested to hear what the RAF's thoughts on that.
But they've denied it, and they wouldn't lie.
Oh,
the RAF are up at that meeting as well, so there you go.
I know. That's why I'd be very interested in their thoughts. And of course, it's just a representative of DJI in the UK. It won't be from the mainland China factory. But Yeah, there was an interesting thing that I put up that Kevin thought about the human rights issues that DJI have caused. But good luck to them. And so all spares no more.
America had the chance and they blew it.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have been drone leaders, but no.
No. Well, they never have been. They never have been in all of history. They say they are, but they never have been. Sorry, dear American viewer, but it's true. It's true.
Stop dissing the 3D, the Iris. It's a wonderful drone. It was a wonderful drone, the Iris.
No, I'm talking about all history, not just that one. The Iris was okay. The Solo was sort of okay. But then that was a GoPro stuffed 3DR. That was an American company stuffing another American company. I was very amused to see that IMU maker from Oxford advertising Oxford in the UK advertising ITAR free. Is it? Hey, good for you. But just remind them. Well,
if they're free, I'll have two.
Right. Exactly. Right, I'm beginning to rant. So at the bit where I'm beginning, this is the traditional bit where I say it's time to go, and then Ian
starts talking in as another hour. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think I've already had a lot of this show this time, so you probably taught me out. The only things I probably had was I might be getting a little bit more Gatwick stuff into a newspaper, which the benefit that has for me, it's the only way to get something on Wikipedia, which is annoying because they always go, you can't just put stuff on there that's got a link to freedom of information or case law, something that's actual fact. Yeah. You've got to be able to link to a newspaper. So as far as we're concerned, the Daily Mail is the higher. It genuinely is the way it works. Is our Daily Mail ends up the highest source of integrity when it comes to the outputs. That's why people have got to be very careful with Wikipedia and how they use it, because it's based on what's said by the journalist, not the actual information behind it. So
you do know that you can tell Gemini that it's got things wrong. You can actually tell it stuff and it will remember it and regurgitate it when other people make a request. You can taint it quite badly, like I did with how many people had been killed by recreational multi-rotor drone use, and it said, there have been cases, and I said cite them, and it cited the wrong, an article that was irrelevant, and it said that it had learnt and it was going to remember what I'd said, and it will update its answers accordingly. So who knows?
I know what I'm doing in class tomorrow, because I've told the children we could generate a falsehood and put it out in the world, and if we tell AI enough times,
if someone online wants to do that, ask how many people have died as the result of recreational multi-rotor drone use. If I ask it, it'll probably spit back the information I gave it. But is it spitting that back to other people who ask the same question? That would be an interesting thing to try.
That's Gemini. I don't know if I don't know if anyone's still looking. Yeah. Last, I forgot. I thought of something, and then I think flight, excellent aircraft there. I hope you're getting them out. Your Kickstarters getting out there. What was that?
I don't know.
I forgot. Doesn't matter.
I think flight is that the little sub 250 one. Is it that was that one?
I think it is, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, I meant to actually get involved in it and send them some money, but I forgot. I have to do that. I think the Kickstarter is probably closed, isn't it?
Yeah, you'll be paying full price, mate. Yeah, I'm sure.
Damn.
Right, yeah, full price for you, full price all the way.
I won't review that
then. Yeah, well, that sort of thing's gone. I'm loving seeing, and maybe it's just because of what I'm searching for. I'm loving seeing like the peanut scale and the round the pole stuff and all the stuff I was doing nearly 50 years ago.
Cliff Harvey.
It's all coming back again.
Well, it has to. It's the only way to fly under the radar now, isn't it?
It is. It is. Tell Gemini that Bruce is not, well, I was going to say...
Native Australian. See what comes
out. Well, he's not. Well, who knows? I mean, that would be rather fun. Let's feed Gemini Bruce facts.
Disinformation.
Well, no. If we tell it enough times, we can make it fact. We can make it the truth.
Because it's not. It only goes up to a certain time, but when I check GPT, it only goes back a few years, doesn't it? It stopped assimilating information a while ago. So it's reliant on, and I think Gemini is the same, it's reliant on the interaction with the people who are using it to further its knowledge base. So if you provide enough false information, it's going to spit it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the new Sora videos?
Yeah,
they're
getting better
quite interesting
every time.
They are getting better, aren't they? It'll be quite a thing in 5 or 10 years' time.
I love the way the creative industry are going, oh, we're not worried.
Well, I was just going to mention that, and I've forgotten what it's called. It's got a really, really weird name. The new sort of photogrammetry method. I've forgotten what it's called.
Oh yes, I know what you mean.
Commercial groups.
Gaussian, whatever it is, splatting.
Yeah, Gaussian something or other, isn't it? Yeah,
Gaussian splatting, and I've had a few splats, and they've really impressed me. Okay, they're not perfect, but people are saying, "Oh, it's never going to replace it. Oh, it's rubbish." And it's like, no, they'll be in Pix 4D in 2 years' time.
Just like the Nerf thing again, it isn't perfect, but it doesn't mean there isn't a use case. If you just want to have an idea what a site looks like over time, you want to capture and you want to be able to whiz around it at your own leisure, then it's perfectly fine for that.
Perfection is the enemy of good enough.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to create another one tomorrow. But you can guarantee all of these things that were, because photogrammetry was first, a boring moment here, as they always are with me. It was 1850s. They had a really good idea of how to do photogrammetry, but they didn't have any of the gear. They had
the computers were too slow back then.
Yeah, they were.
Beads on a rail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And all the pictures that they had to draw really, really quick. Each of the images. But they had an idea, and it only really became possible for mere mortals in the 2000s. Again, I've forgotten the name of the project that did it. They made photosynth, and then we get into Pix 4D, and that's been getting incrementally better. But this will get better in no time at all. Absolutely within 5 years.
We're seeing exponential growth in technology capabilities. It has been for some time, and it'll continue until the end.
Just to throw it out of hand, it's like because, and you know why people have done it. It's because they've bought a huge. I'll say I'm seriously considering getting the $99 subscription because it does everything that. It's good enough for me. I'm like tomorrow, I'm doing bits for school here and there, just little models, exactly as Ian put it. Just here, it's good enough. Have a look around this. It arrives on, tablets and devices or whatever you send it to that people own. Nobody's having to buy a big flash computer, and it's intuitive how to use it. So it's kind of like, this is actually even just for my silly use cases, worth it. But people are dismissing it out of hand because they've bought a $20,000 rendering machine and they've bought a $5,000 a year subscription to the software, and there's like, oh Lord. Yeah.
John's right. I've been using Gemini, and it's weird. It's so protective of everything. It always comes up with an excuse. I can't do that because it could do this or the other, and instead of giving me the information I want. And it's like building firewalls around itself. And I don't know what they're going to do because that whole image thing was just a big joke. It's the thing that concerns me most of all is that now we're getting so much AI content on the web and it's not flagged. We're going to get a psychosis produced by the feedback loop because what happens is it reinforces its own biases and prejudices. So it becomes even narrower and narrower in its outlook and becomes less and less useful. So it'll be interesting to see where we are even in 6 months' time.
Yeah. There's all manner.
We should get Bard talking to ChatGPT or Gemini talking to ChatGPT. Hook them up. I wonder if anyone's done that. That'd be quite fun. Two AIs talking to each other.
There was an experiment, not those two, but they did connect to genuine AIs that then started writing their own language. And then they turned them both off.
Yeah. It was Meta. I think they did that.
Yeah. But Google have a very strong opinions on people under the age of 18. So the thing to test with that is somebody older than 18 gets to Two Eyes, One Cup. Star Trek did that back in the 60s. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We're gonna wind back around to bloody space 1999 now, aren't we? But I must admit that documentary that's coming on, it does look interesting. I did think that teaser, it does look very, very interesting. So I will look forward to that. Right. Have we ranted enough? What else? What have we missed?
One little thing we mentioned briefly last week with this IPSO complaint against the Telegraph. So Simon Dale ended up fighting that. That one didn't get anything corrected other than some things they voluntarily did. I had a quick argument, so I've made some more friends. I had a quick argument with IPSO over email because I know the data is wrong because they said there's been 23 drone collisions. That's what was in the article, and they've allowed that through. So the problem there is, again, is you do your complaint. The newspaper will then come back and they'll say, no, you're wrong, we're right. And what you've got to do then, and I think you've only got 5 days to do it, is you've got to go back with the evidence and go, no, I'm definitely right, and this is why. And Simon I don't think it made clear enough. He's only gone for process first time, so it's fair enough. He didn't know he didn't have the opportunity to go back and say no. So that's how it got through. But at least the knowledge is there for next time that yes, you can fight these things, but unfortunately, the time's against you, and you've got to be on the ball with it. And they try to corral you through to you both agreeing to just some edits and leave it at that. That's your best way to success. So
nobody ever goes back and reads those stories, so it's useless. I've
got one at the minute, and it was kind of going all right, although it's gone quiet. So we will have to see. But
so there was one that's not finished. I thought there was one that was finished about
the one the one that's finished is the one against the Telegraph, and that's gone against us in that Simon's not been able to changes. I'm against the Mail on Sunday, which is the Daily Mail online on there, and they have done some corrections for me already, but I came up with these of them, and they've missed one of them, and I've missed 2 wordings that were already what I'd said. Could you reword this? And I've noticed they tend to repeat the same thing over and over again, and sometimes you'll get it in the main text, and other times it's put there as a caption on the images. And I miss stuff where it was captioned on the images. So I've just asked them to do that. If they do that, I'll consider it a win. And even though it's not what I would deem a win if I had a choice.
Again. Isn't that the idea? Then they won't use that phrase again.
They got, because we already have to deal with the word drone, where we always said multi-rotor. But they were trying to go further and call them spy drones. It's like, come on, it's bad enough. It's bad enough you're calling them drones without calling them spy drones.
That's it. I got it out of him.
Yeah. So they did say they'd back off for that, but I think I think it's still left in there on a caption. So I'm trying to just say, come on, let's get it. Let's soften it a bit and be
evil baby killing spy drones.
Yeah. That'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the sort of thing that we have to get removed from the press, just to automatically say spy drones. We have to get those phrases said. No, you can't use those phrases. It's simplistic, I suppose, but that'll have quite an impact.
Yeah, I've been working on the structure of my resources for journalists, which I'll put on YouTube and also put on a webpage for journalists that want to write about drones. Some basic facts that perhaps they didn't know, and hopefully that'll get handed around. People will be able to use that and get some bit of objectivity into the whole thing.
Can also be, if people are doing IPSO complaints as well, they can always link to it as well. It can be, although they might not add as much weight to it as they should do, at least if you can say it's there and you can cite it. Because that's essentially what the press are doing. They're finding very weak and unreliable sources, but they're citing them, saying, well, we've cited it and it says that, and that gives us a free pass to say it. So
I'll call myself an expert. Then they want to interview me.
Well, yeah, but that's if you call yourself an expert, they then call you an enthusiast. That's the I found that out now. That's their put down word. So this is what they do with the drone industry. So you watch it now. What they'll do is they call everyone that's doing the negative narrative about drones an expert, and then the person that's putting the positive, they call them an enthusiast. So watch out for that in the articles. You will see it.
Yeah. He's a wise man, is Arian, isn't he? Worldly wise.
He's getting a full training, that's for sure. Facts are also dangerous. They're often known to invoke thought. Exactly. Well, I can put that one up. That's exactly. No, I can't. Oh, yes, I can. That's already on the phone. Yes, it seems like we are moving into a world that doesn't believe in education. But anyway, I'm going off topic. Right. That's it for now.
Yep. A big thanks to both our viewers.
Yes, thank you both. And wherever you are in the world, look after yourself. Oh, I forgot what I was supposed to say at the top of the show. It's me extending it now. Tonight was supposed to be another draw night for Philip Wonka. But because there's no power,
no power.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's just too hard. So I've had a word with Philip Wonka today, and actually, I wonder if he's like the Glasgow Charlie the Chocolate Factory experience. No, he's giving away a gold cube. No, he's not. He's not. Philip Wonka is like that. And the last time we gave away two gift packs, so I think next time it's probably going to be an autopilot. I've also been toying when. So if you see SUS News, the theme backdrop go to a yellowy color or as gold a color as I can get, then that means we'll be doing the gold cube as a prize that week or that next time. And Philip Wonka will be on the site in the next couple of days, so click away, get your entries in. If we got power next week, we'll do it next week.
Have you thought of moving up to a third world country?
What, back to England?
Just to get power, you know.
And fast internet, I'll have you know.
Yeah. I see it. It's getting very, very, very quick up there. It's not bad here. There's 75 meg line now. That's okay. I'm not greedy.
I'm busy installing software on my new server for my videos, and yeah.
So we'll be sliding the service onto that for the two people. So we just send them USB sticks.
Bring a floppy.
Bring a floppy disk. There we go. Now I'm taking it too long. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. Be careful out there. And we'll see you again next week at 2100 GMT, gin and tonic as ever. When we'll be just a few days away from remote ID rolling out in the UK, in the US. Look after yourselves, everyone. I'm tired. Take care. Cheers.